Senator Wyden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been an excellent panel. I want to start with you, if I might, Dr. Meserve. I'm particularly struck you have expertise, obviously, in safety issues as a result of being at the NRC. I'm also very interested in the work that you've done with spent fuel pools, because this has great implications. The work you all did after 9/11. This has great implications for Fukushima. So I'm interested in following up with you on that as well. But I want to make my first question the one that I think is central to this debate, and that's really striking the balance. You've got safety issues if you keep the waste on site. You've got safety issues if you ship it somewhere. And you have to be sympathetic to the fact that ratepayers have paid tens of billions of dollars for a federal high-level waste repository, and they haven't gotten one. Tell me, in effect, you're in our shoes, how do you strike that balance between the safety issues, which have to be paramount, and there are really two types of them, as I've suggested, and the question of the ratepayer issue? How would you strike the balance?
Let me say that I very much appreciate the question. It is something with which the Nuclear Regulatory Commission has to grapple all the time, in that there are certain requirements for assuring adequate protection of the public health and safety that are absolute minimum requirements regardless of cost that have to be fulfilled. And if there are requirements you might impose that are above and beyond that level, you may well get to sort of a looking at the costs versus the benefit kind of an analysis to make those decisions. With regard to the spent fuel issue, I should say that we did recommend a storage facility, and there would be costs and risks associated with the transport of the material twice, in the sense that if one sends it first to a storage facility and then has to transport it a second time, so that there are some additional risks associated with transporting it twice rather than just directly to a facility that could take it for disposal. The experience has been that after extensive work on transport, that it's a remarkable record of safety for that transport. That DOE has done a lot of it. There's been some in the civilian sector as well. And that the benefits of having a storage facility are sufficiently great. We see that the additional risk associated with transport, in the view of the Commission, was vastly outweighed by the benefits of having a storage facility in order to meet the commitment to those communities that have all they have is spent fuel that's sitting on them. There are sites that may not be the optimal place to actually store it for long term. There are cost advantages for centralizing. There's research advantages. There's greater capability that could be at a centralized storage facility for monitoring and for undertaking R&D on spent fuel. So there's lots of things that we think that, and the trade-offs that make that safety balance something that's worth doing with regard to a storage facility.
Let me ask you one other one. Senator Cantwell and I are particularly concerned in our part of the world because Hanford adjoins the Columbia River, and the Columbia River is literally our lifeblood in terms of economics, recreation, fish, a host of issues. And folks in our part of the world, and also Idaho and South Carolina and other parts of the country, were hoping that high-level waste from the weapons programs, the nuclear weapons programs at Hanford and other locations, would go to a permanent repository, and obviously that has not happened. We have not seen it. In your view, how important is it to make a priority out of ensuring that these defense wastes, these dangerous defense wastes, and by the way, Mr. Chairman, I would ask unanimous consent at this point to put into the record an article from Monday's Wall Street Journal which documents the continuing problems at Hanford.
We will include that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The question for you, Dr. Meserve, if I could, is how important is it, in your view, that you prioritize this question of cleaning up the defense waste? It's important in our part of the world, Oregon and Washington, but I think it's important for many other Americans as well, and to ensure that you have that priority by putting in place a permanent repository for these dangerous defense wastes.
Let me say that your question goes somewhat beyond what the commission examined, and I can give you a personal view, but I can't speak for the commission. I think it is very important for many of these DOE facilities to make sure that you have stabilized the waste in a fashion that they are not subject to escaping. And your concerns that you have at Hanford are ones that, of course, I and many others share, that there's a lot of waste that's in single-walled tanks with the tanks deteriorating and the danger that that material will escape. So it's very important, I think, to get those materials under control, stabilized, vitrified, and put into a form where they are protected from the environment. I think there's a separate question, in my view, as to whether, it's essential that you then transport them someplace for ultimate disposal. If I think that they could well be, once the material is stabilized, could be stored at the Hanford site in a way that would be safe and secure. I realize that there are legal prohibitions on that as a result of the consent agreements. And so there are legal dimensions to this issue, but I don't doubt that there is a way to be able to store those materials safely at the Hanford site, awaiting their ultimate disposal, and I completely agree that we do have to find a disposal facility. No. The important thing is to find a way to stabilize them first.
My time is up. I can assure you that storage on the banks of the Columbia River is not seen as a permanent solution in my part of the world. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Nor should it be.
Thank you. Senator Cantwell.